the order of the C-permanents, B, P, and R, turned out to be optimal, and it also gave us a nice acronym, which is VIPER. Sue, I think, will be presenting in one of the workshops. But the point is you can get very significant improvement over BP64 up to 20,000-fold for Titan, which shows it because it's one of the largest coding regions. I mean, just the coding region alone is 100 KB, which is a little bit big for the AAV vectors, for those of you who use AAV. And you can do multiple genes at once. There's 4 at once, getting upwards of 400-fold activation. And like I said, one of the motivations for this was the reprogramming at genomics to get new tissues, in particular interested in neural tissues. And here's reprogramming of version 2 showing just BP64 versus all 3 activation domains. And this is, again and again, we see the lovely activity. And where we're going with the genomic reprogramming, in addition to curing diseases or improving or reversing aging, is this reprogramming of tissues and organoids. Here you have a well-ordered sample from a native tissue and an organoid, which is on its way to becoming as native-like as possible. And in between, you can compare the transcriptome or other aspects of epigenomics. We developed a new in situ sequencing method, which I won't tell you about unless you ask, but it's published 2 papers on it so far that gives you subcellular resolution in a multicellular context, so you don't pluck the cells out, you leave them in situ. And then once you have this comparison between the native and the organoid, then you can use CellNet from the Bailey and Collins group to compare these and suggest the next iteration of taking the organoid more and more like normal. So I just want to quickly end on this topic of animal applications of CRISPR, in particular zoonotics, that is to say viruses in particular that cross over from pigs to chickens and other animals to humans, and then gene drives as a way of spreading things in the wild. And we're working on humanized pigs as a source of xenotransplantation, but also pigs in an agricultural setting where with the temptation to use antivirals can result in a potential disaster of multi-drug resistant viruses. So one of the things, there are many things that need to be humanized, and this has made huge progress on changing the carbohydrates and the histocompatibility and complement clotting. But we've also focused on one of the most challenging things where we're multiplexing CRISPR, and I think that you're interested in multiplexing CRISPR. The big challenge is getting rid of the endogenous viruses. Using CRISPR, there are about 40 to 50 endogenous active retroviruses in most in the pigs, as in most other animals. And so Luhan Yang and her team have now targeted these with CRISPR, and preliminary results indicate that we can get rid of a huge fraction of them, maybe 90% at once. So this is a rather large level of multiplexing. But that's a very preliminary result. Gene drives, we can end on this. This is, I think, one of our biggest safety issues, or it's a huge challenge. Very much on the negative side. On the positive side, we have possibility of eliminating malaria, which kills 600,000 people a year, and impacts millions more in a way that truly impacts their quality of life and their employment. And on the negative side, if we mess up, we have something that spreads in the wild and impacts one or more species in a way that it shouldn't. So this has to be done very carefully, and even the little experiments leading up to them. So the idea behind a gene drive dates back at least to 2003 as a technological suggestion, and back to the 70s. Actually, the person that did part of my thesis with, Bernard Dijon, discovered the first meganuclease, which was one of these cell-based DNA elements called SCE1. You might ISCE1, you might recognize that. So anyway, any kind of meganuclease for CRISPR, if it's flanked by the sequences that it targets, then when you get a heterozygote where you have wild type and the gene drive, which has the nuclease encoded, it will cleave the wild type here, and then the only way to really repair this break, or the easiest way, is to homologous recombination with the gene drive version, and then you either don't repair it, in which case you die if it's an essential gene, or you repair it and you get 2 copies of the gene drive. Either way, all of the offspring have the gene drive. And this, of course, is completely different change now. Over the last decade, there's been relatively little practical applications of this, but CRISPR completely changes that. There's already 2 papers showing that this works. And we're also concerned from a safety standpoint that people might accidentally do this. You might say, that seems so complicated. How can they accidentally do that? But it's actually already happened. They kind of stumbled into it. But there's all kinds of interesting safety mechanisms that can be used here. So we've laid out how to do reversal drives, immunization drives. You can avoid resistance because if you cleave and there's selection to get a point mutation, so it won't cleave anymore. If you have multiple guide RNAs, multiple places in an essential gene, then you can avoid that development of resistance to the guide RNAs. You can make it so that you get this reversal. And here's one of my favorites: is that you can go into a small population, say an island. You can push through one gene drive, which can decode it can replace the essential gene with a recoded gene. So now the whole population in the island has a recoded one. And that can be done in a way that's called thresholding, so that it only works if you just kind of shock and awe the population with a large number of gene drives. But then you bring in a second gene drive, called drive D, which is not a threshold. It will spread, even if there's like one insect or one organism introduced in the population, will spread exponentially, but will only target the recoded version of the essential gene. And that means it's much safer if at that point both of the drives escape from the island. The first one won't work on the mainland because it's the threshold of the gene drive, and the second one will work because even though it's an exponential drive is only targeted for the recoded one. So you can see these are some of the ideas behind safety in the wild, and then there's additional things you can do with safety in the laboratory. You can have obviously physical isolation, but even physical isolation is not sufficient for certain organisms. For example, the gain of function viruses are not considered a good idea even with physical containment. And genetic containment, ecological containment, where you grow Anopheles gambiae, not in the middle of the Anopheles belt in Africa, but in Boston where there's no Anopheles in the environment. So physical, genetic, and ecological isolation. This is a genetic isolation where you put the Cas9 not in the guide, not in the drive. The guide is in the drive, but not the Cas9. So you've broken the guide in half in certain sense. So when it goes out into the wild, the wild won't have Cas9, and so it will fade into a non-exponential form immediately. We tested out all these safety mechanisms in yeast, which doesn't fly, which is another safety feature, but we're moving into mosquitoes. But we want to test all these safety mechanisms, and on a broad phylogenetic tree of wild yeast strains, and it works very efficiently. So here they have the red versus white assay, and you can see all these tetrads from yeast, close to 100% gene drive success rather than a normal Mendelian ratio of 50, as you see in this tetrad here, where you have 2 of each. So just going to end on that note, the goal of gene drive is not just malaria. You can use it on invasive species. For example, invasive rodents are causing extinction of a large number of birds and reptiles on over 700 islands. Some of these invasive species have been removed by rodents killing toxic chemicals, but it's very problematic on the bigger islands, or the islands that have humans and pets and agricultural species. So this was done, this part was done in collaboration with Kenneth Exfeld, who's a fellow at the base. Andy Snidler is a graduate student, second-year graduate student here with Flaminio Petrucci's lab at the Harvard School of Public Health. They have a really great malaria mosquito isolation facility. So I'll finish a little bit early. Hopefully it's been provocative enough that there are a few questions. Thank you. Yes?
So one question I have, going back to your nominating key molecules, your respective something really important to focus on, in combination with this point of your personal genetic architecture. Do you think, would you support an idea of taking a metric in which not only measuring potential global off-target effects, but also having a metric for potential for alternatives and taking into account the diversity across the synthetic methods, building it out like that?
So the simple answer is yes, and I'll repeat the question. I think everybody heard it, but just to reframe it, so the answer is so simple. The proposal is that we should have a new metric for off-target, which focuses on oncogenes and tumor suppressors, and it could be either one or the other, depending on whether you're doing a nuclease or an activator or a repressor. So you don't necessarily have to, but the point is you don't have to necessarily worry about every single base pair. Some base pair are much more important than others as off-targets. And then the second part of the proposal is that we really focus on the individual genome. So I fully agree with both of those. Yes.
I'm going to say, while you're talking about identification, right, identification on the virus, what is identification?
Okay, so the question was about, one of my first slides, which multivirus resistance, and this was just to illustrate our dedication to safety more than anything else, but it's probably not as relevant to everybody in this room other than as another example. This is an E. coli. In principle, the methods could be used in more complicated organisms, but we've changed the genetic code. So the idea is that if the virus comes in, the very few things that the virus have in common, they all have different receptors they bind to, different polymerase and so forth, but they all share a need for the genetic code. If you change it sufficiently, it'll be resistant to all viruses, including viruses you've never characterized before, and completely resistant in such a way they can't be, so the viruses can't evolve to deal with it. That's the theory anyway. In the first strain that we tested, we didn't expect it to be as good as it was, but the 2 viruses we inspected in detail is already resistant to both of them at about 1,000-fold level. We expect the next strain will be essentially infinitely resistant. That's the idea. Yeah.
That's true. I noticed that after your list that you have epigenome engineering. Can you comment on that word?
Epigenome engineering?
Yes.
Well, the illustration I gave for epigenome engineering was the TPAM and the generation of neurons. So we had CRISPR activators. The Viper allows up to 20,000-fold enhancement of transcriptional activity. That's what I meant by epigenome. I know some people consider epigenomics homework. Yeah.
Just I read on the report that people are trying to limit that to like target DRCs, right?
Yes.
To DNA numbers, but there's no success.
So I didn't mean to imply that we were working on methylation or there are many aspects of epigenomics that one can leverage now because Cas9 seems to be a kind of universal platform you can stick domains onto. I think my point about epigenomics is many of these things accomplish the same goal. You know, if you repress it one way or another, if you activate it one way or another. But the point is we have an increasing number of tools in the toolbox, and we have this in situ sequencing method for assessing whether the epigenomics is working in detail, not just in broad strokes. Yes, I didn't put the acronym, but just published in Science and Nature Protocols. How many people here have their genome sequenced? One. Is it brilliant to do? Put it into the pipeline. How important is it? We're doing the Personal Genome Project. It's free. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
So we had a great first kickoff with Eric Green giving us this pretty general overview of both from genomics to digital health and medicine. And now we'll follow that up, I think, with an equally impactful talk from George Church. And since most of us know well George's work, I thought great to have somebody more personally connected give the intro for George. So Jason Bowe will Great. I should say there are two prime seats for people in the back. This would be a good time to come up and grab a couple seats if you want them. I'm Jason Bowe, and I'm the director of the Sharing Lab here at the Icahn Institute. And thanks to Eric and Pamela and Judy and Orly for putting this together. I've known George and worked with George for the past 10 years. And when I was asked to do a 1-minute introduction of George, I felt like it was a bit like being asked to write a summary of Wikipedia in 140 characters. So it was a big challenge. And George really has had many professional faces. And his list of achievements so far in his career are extraordinary. And it's really no coincidence that he was awarded several years ago the Power Prize, which is the longest running technology prize in the United States. And it's an award that's shared by Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, Marie Curie, and many other legends in technology, science, and medicine. For people who are really familiar with genomics, you may know George the best from the perspective of the Personal Genome Project, which he founded 10 years ago in 2005. And there are now sites in 4 countries, going on a dozen more. And this effort has been pioneering for the field of personal genomics in regards to reciprocity, data sharing, the concept of open consent, and pioneering participatory research where participants are co-investigators in a research study. And this effort has really made a lasting impression on many people around the world, not least of which are the thousands of participants who are signed up for one of these many PGP sites around the world. Let's see here. So what you may not know is that George also has made incredible contributions in reading genomes. Or his contributions in reading genomes is really just a small part of a larger set of projects, which includes writing genomes and the field of synthetic biology. And so many of the extraordinary projects which I encourage you to look up and read his book, Regenesis, MAGE, Gene Drives, Mirror World through E. coli, Polynese, and he was made a formative effort in getting the Brain Initiative going, DNA, origami, nanorobots, and many, many more. And his book, also something very special about it, is that he encoded all 350 pages of his book in DNA. And so it's one of the single most printed book in the world. There are over 70 billion copies, which of course fit on the head of a pin. It has DNA, and he has his work in editing. He's made several contributions to CRISPR technology, which many people are excited about, of course. And in his spare time, he's also bringing back cold-tolerant elephants. You might know them as woolly mammoths. And so his contributions really as one of the greatest living technologists of our era. He's also a very successful entrepreneur. And so you might see his technologies and products in many of the companies such as these, and his conflict of interest slide is legendary. So please help me with a warm welcome of George Church.
There's a conflict of interest slide, which Jason was talking about. And I do have, I will say nice things about some of these organizations that helped us get our technologies from the ivory tower into the marketplace where it could be of use. I could frame, some of it frame this talk as a collection of technologies that might be useful to people in the room. This one will be framed sort of this argument of why big data is easier than little data. And it's not a topic that I talk about all the time, but why not? And so some of you might say, yeah, it's better than little data now. There was a while where people weren't even sure it was better. But is it really easier? Why would we say it's easier? This is one of your typical data warehouses I visited in England, and they have 250 kilowatts per computer unit, and all those red pipes are so that you can douse the whole thing with heptafluoropropane in case there's a problem, and you don't really want to be in there when all the heptafluoropropane goes down to put out the fire. and you have to wear these ear protection because of the noise in the house. So anyway, this is what big data is associated with in mind. I'm going to say that it is easier, and I'm going to give a few anecdotes that are connected, starting with a very early one where we didn't really know how we would go about understanding RNA, and then we'll end with how we look at DNA, RNA, and protein in a similar sort of way. What is the advantage of going to 3 dimensions and getting really big data sets about cells, tissues, organs, human beings, and environment? And then these other topics along the way. You'll keep seeing the slide, so you'll know where you are. You know when to leave. So this is me in 1973. Just couldn't quite grow my beard yet. Teenager, doing what most teenagers do, solving crystal structures of folded nucleic acids. And here is the status, sort of in the early 70s, of what people thought transfer RNA would look like. And needless to say, they were all wrong. They were based on chemical reactivity and things like that. And what we did instead is we collected 8,000 plus diffraction data points to cover 1,652 non-hydrogen atoms. And it turned out to be a much richer, much more informative, and most importantly, correct structure, and it's still in use to this day. Now, there's a similar kind of anxiety that went around starting the beginning of the Genome Project, which will be the topic here. How would we go about comparing genomes, and what were the shortcuts we could use to bring the price down from what we worried would be, $3 to $30 billion down to something reasonable. And this was the project kind of started in a little meeting I was at in 1984 with the Department of Energy, and then started to Rio in 1990 with the NIH, and in between was this National Academy of Sciences study where they invited a bunch of people to give their opinion. And I was in the room when one computer scientist, who remained nameless, did this calculation where you compare the human genome to itself or some large number of genomes to themselves. So 3 billion squared would be 10 to the 19th operations of some sort you would need to compare, and so this would be on the order of 300,000 CPU years, and hence 99% of the genome budget should go to him and his computer science. I can actually believe this, and it ignored the fact that there were already, in the computer science literature, linear algorithms for doing these searches, and some of them even better than linear, and hence we got to ask at Google and lots of other things that do things like this all the time for much less. And so we ended up spending a tiny fraction of the genome budget on computing. But nevertheless, it was a fairly big project at the time, and these were the sequence shortcuts that were suggested over and over again. I'm giving this kind of as a warm-up analysis of why smart people don't always do really super smart things. And so one of the things is just every lab seemed to pass through a phase where their goal was to get 1x coverage. And for those of you who know the jargon here, that means covering every base pair exactly once, so that you wouldn't even waste where you sequence it 2 or 3 times. I mean, it's just too painful to even imagine sequencing the genome more than once. And so now, for those of you that are smiling, it's pretty routine to do 30 or 50x coverage of human genomes, and some of our bacterial genomes we do 1,000x coverage just for kicks. And it's just laughable. And then they would focus on the protein coding. The project was almost canceled because when people realized that 99% of the genome didn't code for proteins, and then they thought of various clever ways of doing this. The least clever part of it is we still haven't actually taken all the proteins, even though we've pretty much sequenced 100,000 human genomes. We're still, if we were doing it this way, we'd still be doing it. And then focusing on single nucleotide polymorphisms, I think it had advantages and disadvantages. So this is what I think people didn't really fully anticipate, and I think they can be excused for not anticipating it. So we were on a nice Moore's Law curve, which is actually breathtaking, both for the computing world, the green Moore's Law, and also for sequencing, going back to the dawn of sequencing in the 60s. We were on this nice curve, and in the computer science community, the computer engineering community, they're much more disciplined, and they stuck to this law, but we didn't. We were just kind of like fell off this cliff in 2005 for reasons that we'll probably skip over today. But the point is it has to keep going, and I don't really think it's plateauing. I think it's still going faster than Moore's Law, and you'll see some of the reasons that we're going to this three-dimensional and subcellular resolution, and there's a lot of information there that we need to get. And so it's taking 6 decades, as you would have predicted, from the very aggressive exponential Moore's Law, it's about 6 years. But it wasn't just about cost. You wouldn't want to have a really cheap genome, which is 75% error rate, which you can get for free, actually. But we were debating at the beginning of the Genome Project whether 10 to the minus 2 or 10 to the minus 3 was the right number for the error rate, which I felt at the time, and I still feel would have been an appalling way to achieve the goal, and probably would have taken us longer if we had set that as the goal. Anyway, now we're published the publications that had 10 to the minus 7, including one that we co-authored with CGI in 2012, and the unpublished data they're getting for the well-behaved parts of the genome is around 1 in a billion error rate. There still are not so well-behaved parts of the genome, but even these are reflected in this second plot, which is a haplotype phase, like in other words, the fault alterations, the variations that occur in your messenger chromosome. And these went from sort of, in 2007 was the first diploid genome, which was done in ABI capillary electrophoresis, was around 300,000, and now it's getting up into the multi-million base pairs. But we really want a telomere, and we'll come back to the very end. I'll do that. Now, something that we keep hoping